What makes a hero become a villain? This is the question that permeates the journey of Obito Uchiha, one of the most complex and controversial characters in the Naruto universe. From a cheerful and idealistic young ninja to one of the series' most dangerous antagonists, Obito's story is a narrative of trauma, manipulation, and redemption that continues to fascinate fans today. Let's dive deep into the trajectory of this enigmatic shinobi, exploring the events that shaped his destiny and the motivations behind his actions. Get ready for an emotional journey through the highs and lows of Obito Uchiha's life. Our protagonist was born in Konoha, the Hidden Leaf Village, as a member of the prestigious Uchiha clan. However, unlike many of his relatives, Obito was not considered a natural prodigy. In fact, he was seen as a clumsy person who struggled to keep up with his peers at the Ninja Academy. But what Obito lacked in innate talent, he made up for with unwavering determination. His dream was to become Hokage, the village leader, so that everyone would finally recognize him. This ambitious goal drove him to train hard, even when others doubted him. One of Obito's main motivations was to impress his teammate, Rin Noara. The young Uchiha secretly harbored a crush on Rin but had to compete for her attention with the team's genius, Kakashi Hatake. This dynamic between the three genins formed the emotional core of Squad Minato, led by the future fourth Hokage. Despite his one-sided rivalry with Kakashi, Obito had a pure and compassionate heart. He always helped the village's elderly with everyday tasks, even if it made him late for commitments. His altruistic nature and unwavering optimism made him a captivating figure, someone everyone rooted for to succeed in life. The turning point in Obito's life occurred during a crucial mission in the Third Shinobi World War. Squad Minato was tasked with destroying the Kanobi Bridge to cut off Iwagakure's supply lines. It was on this mission that Obito's fate changed forever. When Rin was captured by enemy ninjas, Kakashi initially decided to abandon her to complete the mission. Obito, horrified by this choice, declared that, in the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. A phrase that would become iconic in the series. Determined to save Rin, Obito set out alone to rescue her. It was in this moment of courage and loyalty that he finally awakened his Sharingan, the powerful dojutsu of the Uchiha clan. With his new powers, Obito managed to defeat one of Rin's captors. However, the victory was short-lived. During the escape from the cave where Rin was held, Obito was crushed by a rockslide while saving Kakashi. With half of his body destroyed, Obito believed he was going to die. In his final moments, he decided to give his newly awakened left Sharingan to Kakashi as a belated promotion gift to Jonin. Obito's last words to his comrades were a request for Kakashi to protect Rin. As the rocks engulfed him, the young Uchiha lamented not being able to confess his feelings to Rin or realize his dream of becoming Hokage. For all intents and purposes, Obito Uchiha was dead. But fate had other plans for our protagonist. Against all odds, Obito survived the collapse. He was rescued by none other than Madara Uchiha, the legendary founder of the clan, who everyone believed had been dead for decades. Madara took Obito to a secret location known as the Cemetery Mountain, where he tended to his injuries. Obito's body was in tatters. His entire right side had been crushed by the rocks. To save him, Madara used cells from the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, to reconstruct the damaged parts. This process not only saved Obito's life but also granted him special abilities, such as the ability to use wood release. During his long recovery, Obito was cared for by artificial creatures called Zetsus. In particular, he developed a friendship with a spiral Zetsu he nicknamed Guru Guru. This peculiar creature helped Obito adapt to his new body and train his newly acquired abilities. All this time, Madara tried to indoctrinate Obito, telling him about the harsh realities of the shinobi world and his plan to create a perfect alternate reality. However, the young Uchiha resisted these dark ideas. His heart still belonged to Konoha, to Rin, and to his dreams. When he finally recovered enough, Obito decided to return to his village and friends. Madara allowed him to leave, confident that future events would bring the boy back to his side. Unfortunately, the old Uchiha's predictions would prove correct. Obito arrived just in time to witness the most traumatic scene of his life. Kakashi piercing Rin's chest with his Chidori. The shock and pain of this vision awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan in both Obito's eyes, the one he still possessed and the one he had given to Kakashi. Consumed by blind rage, Obito massacred the Kirigakure ninjas surrounding his former comrades. His new power was terrifying, combining Uchiha abilities with the wood release granted by Hashirama cells. When the dust settled, Obito found himself alone with Rin's lifeless body and an unconscious Kakashi. At that moment, something inside him broke. All his dreams, hopes, and beliefs seemed empty in the face of the cruel reality of the ninja world. Devastated and directionless, Obito returned to Madara. The old Uchiha welcomed him with open arms, ready to mold the broken young man in his image. Thus began Obito's transformation into the fearsome Tobi. Madara shared with Obito his grand plan, the infinite Tsukuyomi. This technique would use the moon's power to cast a genjutsu on a global scale, trapping all of humanity in an eternal dream of happiness. For Obito, who had just lost everything he loved, the idea of a world where Rin was still alive was irresistible. In the following years, Obito dedicated himself fully to executing Madara's plan. He assumed various identities and manipulated events behind the scenes, always working to gather the tailed beasts needed to resurrect the Ten-Tails. One of his most notorious actions occurred when he attacked Konoha using the Kyuubi, the Nine-Tails Fox. Controlling the beast with his Sharingan, Obito caused massive destruction in the village and indirectly led to the death of his former sensei, Minato Namikaze, and his wife Kushina. It is important to note that during this time, Obito kept his true identity a secret. To the world, he was known only as Toby, a mysterious member of the Akatsuki organization. He often acted as a goofy and carefree character, annoying his companions with his childish behavior. This Toby persona was a literal and figurative mask. Behind his comical facade, Obito hid a meticulous plan and relentless determination. He manipulated both allies and enemies, always with the ultimate goal of collecting all the tailed beasts. One of the series' most shocking moments was when Toby finally revealed his true identity. During the Fourth Shinobi World War, he presented himself to the world as Madara Uchiha, assuming the identity of his deceased mentor. This revelation shook the allied shinobi forces and dramatically raised the stakes of the conflict. The war provided Obito the opportunity to test the limits of his powers. He demonstrated impressive abilities, such as using the Rinnegan and controlling the 6 paths of pain composed of resurrected Jinchurikis. His signature technique, Kamui, which allowed him to become intangible and teleport, made him an almost unbeatable opponent. However, the turning point for Obito came in his confrontation with Naruto Uzumaki. The series' protagonist challenged Obito's beliefs, insisting that abandoning his friends and dreams was not the answer. This clash was not only physical but ideological, forcing Obito to confront the choices he had made. Naruto's unwavering determination and refusal to give up on his ideals reminded Obito of who he used to be. Slowly, the layers of hatred and resentment he had built up over the years began to unravel. The final blow to his facade came when he was forced to face a young version of himself within his own mind. This encounter made him realize how far he had strayed from his original values and how deeply he had lost himself in his quest for a perfect world. Obito's redemption was neither immediate nor easy. Even after recognizing his mistakes, he continued to fight against the allied forces as the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki. His power in this form was staggering, rivaling that of the Sage of the 6 Paths himself. It was only when Madara betrayed him and extracted the Ten-Tails from his body that Obito finally switched sides. In the final moments of the war, he allied with Naruto and his former enemies to defeat Madara and the goddess Kaguya Otsutsuki. Obito's final sacrifice was particularly moving. Using the last vestiges of his power, he placed himself in front of a deadly attack aimed at Naruto and Sasuke. In those final moments, Obito finally made peace with his past and found redemption. Before departing for the afterlife, Obito had a final conversation with Kakashi. He apologized for his actions and entrusted his former teammate with the task of supporting Naruto in his journey to become Hokage. It was a powerful moment of closure for both characters. Obito Uchiha's story is one of the most complex and emotionally resonant in the entire Naruto universe. It makes us question the boundaries between good and evil, the nature of trauma, and the power of redemption. Obito started as a young man full of dreams and ideals, fell into the depths of despair and hatred, and finally found his way back to the light. His journey reminds us that even those who seem beyond salvation can find redemption if they are reminded of who they truly are. Obito's legacy persisted long after his death. His sacrifice inspired Naruto in his darkest moments, and his actions, both good and bad, had lasting repercussions on the shinobi world. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of Obito's story is how it mirrors and contrasts with Naruto's. Both started as outcasts determined to gain their village's recognition. Both suffered traumatic losses. The crucial difference was how they responded to that pain. Where Obito succumbed to despair and sought to escape reality, Naruto channeled his pain into determination to change the world for the better. It is a comparison that highlights the central theme of choice and perseverance in the series. Obito's complexity is also reflected in his abilities and powers. Throughout his life, he mastered an impressive array of techniques. Sharingan. As a member of the Uchiha clan, Obito possessed the legendary Sharingan. This dojutsu granted him abilities such as copying techniques, seeing through illusions, and predicting opponents' movements. Manjikyu Sharingan. Awakened by the trauma of seeing Rin die, Obito's Manjikyu granted him access to the powerful Kamui. Kamui. This unique technique allowed Obito to become intangible and teleport through dimensions. It was his primary weapon for many years and made him an almost unbeatable opponent. Wood Release. Thanks to Hashirama cells implanted in his body, Obito could use the rare and powerful Wood Release. Rinnegan. After stealing Nagato's Rinnegan, Obito gained access to the legendary 6 Paths techniques. Ten-Tails Jinchuriki. As the Ten-Tails host, Obito reached a level of power comparable to that of the Sage of the 6 Paths. These diverse abilities reflect Obito's multifaceted nature and his journey through different identities and alliances. A frequently debated aspect of Obito is the question of his guilt and redemption. His actions as Toby caused incalculable damage and resulted in the deaths of countless people, including Naruto's parents. He was directly responsible for starting the Fourth Shinobi World War. However, the series presents his final redemption as genuine and meaningful. This raises interesting questions about forgiveness, remorse, and the capacity for change. Do Obito's good deeds at the end of his life make up for years of wrongdoing? This is a question fans continue to debate.